Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copperfoxinn. My name is Thomas, the human barbarian. My name is Thomas, the human bard, and I am joined by
Onog, the half-human bardbarian.
Bard.
Onog, the half-orc barbarian.
And we are on a side quest.
Radiant side quest.
Where we are discussing the Unearthed Arcana that just came out that has class feature variants for every class in D&D 5th edition. This episode, we are discussing the Warlock. Ooh. The Edge Boy, Edge Lord. All right, Onog, talk to me about the Warlock.
So, the Warlock kind of gets the base spellcaster things everyone's sort of been getting. They get an expanded spell list with the Warlock spells, and they get spell versatility, which is useful for them. So basically, they can recover their spell slots on a short rest, and they can change their one spell on a long rest. So it's kind of, that's just what they get. As far as what their spells do, they just get a couple of things. I do find an interesting inclusion of Animate Dead. So now your Edge Boy can be even edgier.
Yes, very good. Now you can make skeletons. Life Transference is pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Magic Jar. Create Homunculus.
So yeah, and I think after 5th level, they're not actually spell slots anymore. It's just like they get an ability that allows them to cast a spell at that level once a day, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, they get weird at 9th level.
Yes, with the weird spell. That one weird spell.
So that's something to note, though, is because they can only change out Pact magic spells, which, like I said, are only from 1 to 5th level. So anything they get past that, they still cannot change out, because it is a class ability that allows them to get a new spell they can cast once per day instead of learning a new spell with their magic
from
source.
your Pact magic.
So in all honesty, spell versatility probably affects the Warlock the least out of any of the classes.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Eldritch Invocation options. Here we go.
Actually, let's skip that for now.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know it comes first in order, but we really need to talk about the new Pact boon
first
before we can talk about the invocations, because a lot of the invocations refer to the Pact boon. So there's a new boon called the Pact of the Talisman. Your patron gave you a special amulet, a talisman that can aid you or anyone else who wears it when the need is great. When the wearer makes an ability check with a skill in which they lack proficiency, they add a 1d4 to the roll. If you lose the talisman, you can perform a 1-hour ceremony to replace it. The ceremony can be performed during a short or long rest, and it destroys the previous amulet. The talisman turns to ash when you die. So this is kind of the new boon instead of like the Pact of the Blade or the Pact of the Familiar.
The chain.
Yeah, the Pact of the Chain.
The tome.
Yeah. You get
which is
the talisman.
Okay, so Pact of the Blade lets you get weapons and become like a martial.
Yeah, it allows you to be the chunky or the
Pact
chunky.
of the Tome gives you like options of new spells you can cast and abilities to cast them. Pact of the Chain gives you a familiar who's like the best familiar in the whole game. Pact of the Talisman lets you make ability checks 1d4 better.
That you are not already proficient in.
Is this good? What is this?
It's interesting. Because it's one of those things where it's like kind of like what we've talked about in... This is basically just... This is cheating.
This is cheating.
The Warlock is literally cheating in this because everyone else is getting like ways to use their abilities that they hadn't used abilities or replacement abilities. This is just a new subclass. This is just a new subclass of Warlock.
Yeah, that is kind of how it works.
And they're cheating in that that's not what anyone else got. Why does Warlock get that? But so this is just kind of a new subclass that like is kind of more skill monkey based, but in a different way. And it's very supportive because you can give the talisman to another player and have them gain the benefits instead. And there's no like action economy for taking or putting on the talisman. So if someone else is talking or needing to bargain somebody, and they're not normally good at persuasion, you can give them your talisman and they will be mildly better at it.
They get it. Yeah. Is it what's the math on adding a D4 to things you're not proficient in, or the Bard Jack of all trades feature? So get half proficiency in all skills.
As you level up, so when you get Jack of all trades, I believe
that's second level.
It's at second level that you get it. Okay, so then it would be plus your proficiency bonus is +2 at that level. So everything that you are not proficient in gets a plus one.
Uh-huh.
And as you level up, that increases. Let me double check that it's rounded down or rounded up. I'm pretty sure it's rounded down.
It's just rounded down, and the highest it ever gets is +3.
Yeah, because the highest without any magical efficient changes, the highest your proficiency bonus increases is to +6. So you will never get more than 3. Because even with, there's a magical item that increases your proficiency bonus by +1, that's still an odd number that gets rounded down.
So at 9th level, it becomes +4, which is +2, which is the average of a 1d4 is +2.
So at early levels,
on average, it's the same.
Yeah, at 9th level, it's the same, and then the bard starts to outstrip it a little bit. However, there are Eldritch invocation options that also affect the pact boon of the talisman, just like any other pact. So
sure. So then let's go through those Eldritch invocation options. Bond of the Talisman.
This is a 12th level Pact of the Talisman feature. When someone else wearing your talisman, while someone else is wearing your talisman, you can use your action to teleport to the unoccupied space closest to them, provided you are on the same plane of existence. The wearer of your talisman can do the same thing, using their action to teleport to you.
Okay.
So it's a teleport that only requires that your team member already be there. That's pretty darn good, especially considering I'm pretty sure Warlocks get Dimension Door, so you can teleport to your friend and then immediately teleport away.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's kind of where this kind of even more shines a light on the Pact of the Talisman, literally being a support boon instead of it's very the Princess and the Frog, the voodoo priest kind of a thing. He can't do anything for himself, he can just help others, and it's very much along those lines.
I love the idea of a lazy warlock who just has someone else in the party wear it, and they just sit around, and once the party makes camp for the night, they just teleport to the camp.
They're just
that way they don't have to hike.
You guys go ahead, I'm gonna stay in and that's something you can do. It's it's like the reverse.
You just show up.
It's the reverse familiar. Instead of sending your familiar out to do everything for you, you stay in town and drink while they're traveling, and then it's it's about time I head over, boom, and you just teleport to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I like it. It's
very
cool.
This kind of ability, while not necessarily altogether that helpful in combat necessarily, unless you're please help, and they just teleport to you to provide cover, has so many different fun different things you can use role play wise. It's my friend got kidnapped, let me just teleport to him.
I have seen a couple of people who have said that to them the Pact of the Talisman, it flavors really well with something like you made your pact in order to protect a person you love. So it's you made a pact with an archdevil to protect your ailing father, and so you give him this talisman, so you can teleport to him to check up on him, and he gets better at making skill checks, which is can be flavored as he has a little more luck in his day-to-day activities or whatever. So it's you can give it to this maybe for a story reason, somebody that the whole point of the bond you made, the pact, was to protect that person.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat, kind of a cool idea.
And my immediate ideas upon learning the primary feature of this pact is that you give it to someone else. Is this is something you can do in conjunction with another player as you're creating a new characters for a new campaign. You go, hey, and you'll be wearing my necklace because I care so much about you, kind of a thing. You could make brothers or a couple of star-crossed lovers. and like you've given your intended your talisman as like your wedding vows or something like that. And it's like you could do all kinds of fun stuff with this. It's very flavorful.
Can I dip into Warlock as a Beastmaster Ranger and have my animal companion wear the talisman?
Wait, let me see.
I don't think it ever says humanoid or anything.
A talisman that can aid you or anyone else who wears it when the wearer makes an ability check with the... Yeah, it doesn't say it has to be a person. It just says...
I think it says...
It just says when the wearer makes an ability check. So you could dip into Warlock specifically just to boost your Beastmaster.
You know, the problem, though, is that as soon as you dip into Warlock, it's sort of like becoming a stealth archer in Skyrim. You start going, wait, why would I take a Ranger feature?
Why am I going Beast Ranger? Why won't I just be Warlock?
Be a Warlock.
Yeah, I am a Beastmaster Warlock. I'm Pact of the Chain, and my beast is a pseudo-dragon.
Yeah. I mean, it is better in almost every way. Don't worry about it. Especially with a couple of other random bits throughout here. So Chainmaster's Fury, as a bonus action, you could command your familiar to make one attack. Yeah,
I mean,
that's fine.
If you're not using Hex, I guess it's something to use your bonus action for. Because Warlocks kind of have the opposite problem as Rangers, is that they only have so many things that require their bonus action, and then really nothing else, unless they're like teleporting or something. And so this gives you more damage output, but like even though your familiars can attack as a Pact of the Chain, the real money about your familiars is like the spells that they have available to themselves. And it's like, you're not attacking with this thing. Why would you attack with this thing? Like, it's the same problem with the Beastmasters. Like, at 9th level, your imp does what? Like 1d4 slashing damage or something? Like, that's not useful.
Well, we'll see later. There's another Chainmaster feature that can adjust some of that. We'll see. We'll get there. The next one is Eldritch Armor. So a Pact of the Blade feature. As an action, you can touch a suit of armor that isn't being worn or carried by anyone and instantly don it, provided you aren't wearing armor already. You are proficient in this suit of armor until it's removed. Full plate Warlock, baby.
Hexblades didn't need to be stronger.
Yeah.
Hexblades are already like multi-classing to get full like plate armor proficiency. Just giving it to them for free, and in a way that like implies they could like steal it from a store at very early levels. Like this doesn't have a level
the other
requirement.
Way.
Yeah, it's like if you go to the town armor, literally the first thing you can do with this pact is steal a suit of plate armor and just be wearing it and go, what? No, this isn't the same plate armor. I couldn't have possibly put that on in this time.
or the other option where they say, give that back or I'll hurt you, and you go, how are you going to hurt me?
How are you going to hurt me? I'm a hexblade.
It's the whole problem. It's like buying a tank with a credit card. And it's like, well, what about all the debt you go into? It's like, how are they going to collect it? You have a tank. Yeah, this is ridiculous. I do like that. It doesn't mention anywhere the armor has to like fit.
Well, that's one of those like secret DM rules that aren't actually in the book. There's nothing
it's
really
armor for a gnome.
Yeah, it's armor for a gnome, but like
you're a Goliath Warlock and you just insta-don it and are now proficient in it.
There's no price changes, there's no weight changes, there's no nothing about size difference in armor. So it's like implied that one size fits all.
That's just how armor works.
That's just how armor works.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very good invocation that any Hexblade is going to be looking at, I think, definitely. Eldritch Mind, prerequisite Pact of the Tome feature. You have advantage on Constitution saving throws and that you make to maintain your concentration on a spell.
So this is a great little thing, especially if like you want to save your feats for something else and don't want to take Warcaster. This is a great supplement for Warcaster.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's what you want. You're a Pact of the Tome Warlock. You get these concentration spells, and then you're just punched in the face. That ruins your whole day because you feel like you wasted your spell. For sure. No, that feels good. Far Scribe, prerequisite, 5th level, Pact of the Tome feature. A new page appears in your Book of Shadows. With your permission, a creature can use its action to write its name on that page, which can contain a number of names equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. You can cast the Sending spell, targeting a creature whose name is on the page without using a spell slot and without using material components. To do so, you must write the message on the page. The target hears the message in their mind. If the target replies, the message appears on the page rather than in your mind. The writing disappears after 1 minute. As an action, you can magically erase a name on the page by touching the name on it. Oh, that was a lot to say. You can cast Sending through a book.
You can cast Sending to specific people who you have given consent to through a book. Now,
I like that. You can't have unsolicited. You have to have.
They can't like steal it and write their name in there. But it's like, but you're the only one that can implement the casting of Sending anyways, so it like doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you also you can't write someone else's name. They have to write their own
agree.
name. Yeah.
And so
you can't write the king's name and then send him a message. He has to give you permission.
I imagine the Warlock like pretending to be a fanboy of the king, like, "Sir, could I have your autograph?"
Got him.
And he's just like, "Oh, all right," and he writes it down, and now you can just talk to him in his sleep. But yeah, this is a very useful utility, especially if like your campaign requires communicating with a lot of different very important NPCs.
Yeah, and the obvious immediate choice would be like at least one other member of your party in case you get separated.
In case you guys get separated,
right? Yeah. That's the first choice. But then, you can get, that NPC who's a wizard who you go visit often for like history and arcana checks. Mm-hmm. Why not just write his name in the book, and then you don't have to go travel back to his tower every time
you need quick
session.
Sir Merlin, how do we undo Flesh to Stone? just a real quick patch.
and then it just shows you Merlin has seen this message. He just leaves you on red.
Leaves you on red. No, wait. We just invented a phone.
Please, I showed you my talisman. Respond.
And probably the best thing about this is there is no limitation to the number of times you can do it to these specific characters. So you can communicate to someone who has written their name in your book as many times a day as often as you need.
The only limit is the number of names people in your book. Yeah. But that's kind of sick. I like it. I think it's really good. Gift of the Protectors. Mm-hmm. Prerequisite 9th level, Pact of the Tome. A page appears in your Book of Shadows. Sounds familiar. With your permission, a creature can use its action to write its name on that page. Sounds familiar. Which can contain a number of names equal to your charisma modifier. Sounds familiar. Okay. When any creature whose name is on the page is reduced to 0 hit points, but not killed outright, the creature magically drops to 1 hit point instead. Once this magic is triggered, no creature can benefit from it until you finish a long rest. So it happens one time. Not once per name, but one time, and then you have to take a long rest. As an action, you can magically erase a name by touching it.
So that's super useful. It's basically the half-orc survival ability, but you apply it to anyone you want to.
Yeah, just any member of your party who isn't a half-orc, essentially.
Yeah, or you can provide that half-orc twice. two chances to stand back up. It also doesn't say you can't write your own name in it.
It doesn't say that.
And so it's just one of those things where this one definitely is like more designed for like protecting the party, but it could also work with that, king we tricked into signing our book. If there's like an assassination plot against him and we're like, okay, we've got one chance to like undo an assassination on him.
Yeah, that's true. Can I get my animal companion to write their name in the book?
Why do you do this to me?
If an animal companion puts their paw in some ink and then puts it on the page, is that writing their name in the book? Does that count?
Moving onwardly. Investment
of the... You go.
I need to get away from that question as fast as possible. Investment of the Chainmaster. So, maybe
this is the one that I was talking about earlier. This is the one that adjusts Pact of the Chain in a pretty good way.
So, your familiar gains either a flying speed or a swimming speed. Your choice. If it probably didn't have one, you pick the other. Of 40 feet, the familiar no longer needs to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
The familiar's weapon attacks are considered magical.
Now we're talking.
And if the familiar forces a creature to make a saving throw, it uses your spell save DC. Now that's the real good
That's
one.
the one. There it is. Yeah.
So now all of your familiar's offensive spells are, especially because this doesn't need to be picked, but like at a certain point their static save DC is useless. But then it starts following yours as you like pump more and more points into charisma. That's a potent little guy right there.
The one a couple people have pointed out, I think it's pseudo dragons have a sting attack that's like normally not good.
But like if you make it magical, it's like actually super good.
Yeah.
Or no, the spell save the save is like your oh my gosh.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's good.
Pseudo Dragon 5e. Let's pull it up here. It has keen senses, yada, yada, yada. It has the sting. Okay, so it says it's a weapon attack, +4 to hit. It deals 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage. The target must succeed on a DC 11 Constitution saving throw or become poisoned for 1 hour. If the saving throw fails by 5 or more, the target falls unconscious for the same duration or until it takes damage or another creature uses an action to shake it awake.
Okay.
So on a Constitution 11, that's not a good ability. On your spell save
DC of 19.
That's pretty good. You're going to be poisoning a lot of people.
Especially if you took the bonus action attack. Yeah, geez. Woof.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid boost to pseudo dragons. Because previously, I think it was imps that are just like kind of the obvious best choice. If not, quasits. Right?
Quasits are like one of the more powerful ones because they can like turn invisible at will and stuff like that.
Yeah, quasits are really good. But pseudo dragons are fun and flavorful, and this really buffs the pseudo dragon up to being really quite good with that ability, I think. Nice. So yeah, maybe if you combine that with the other Chainmaster's Fury, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're talking. All right, Protection of the Talisman, 9th level, Pact of the Talisman feature. When the wearer of your talisman makes a saving throw in which they lack proficiency, they can add a d4 to the roll. So instead of a skill check, it applies it to saving throws as well now.
Which is interesting because that's okay, moderately useful like we talked about. At 9th level is when Jack of all trades starts outstripping the Warlock, but this is when they can start like being better than Jack of all trades because it's being applied to saving throws instead too.
Yeah.
Additionally, this would be very interesting in like being a talisman Warlock Bard combo because those mix very well because they're both charisma casters, and that if you get Jack of all trades, technically the way the rules are written, your proficiency bonus is being applied to all of your skills. So you would have no purpose for your own talisman. So doing that and then giving it to somebody else would be an interesting like multi-class thing, and then taking these to apply that even more to the friend.
So okay, so it would stack? So Jack of all trades would add half your proficiency bonus?
Stack because it's adding half of your proficiency bonus. But
it doesn't make you proficient in it.
It doesn't make you proficient in it, but the wording on the talisman is that when the wearer makes any ability check with a skill in which they lack proficiency. I think the way that it's...
I don't know.
Because
I think it might...
Because it counts as like adding your proficiency bonus to it, even if it's only part of the proficiency bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And so
is there a difference between in which they lack proficiency and in which they are not proficient?
Yeah, like there's a difference, I think, in phrasing to that or something like that.
Interesting.
Because like the Jack of all trades ability triggers off of the rogue's like 10th level or 11th level ability of if you add your proficiency bonus to something, you automatically roll a 10. So it's like you can make these like weird unkillable skill monkeys kind of a thing.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I would want some more. I want to see if those would or wouldn't work based on that. If they purposefully phrase it to not work, or if they are trying to imply that it could work.
That it would stack, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Listeners, if you know anything we don't, comment below. Let us know if we got it wrong or if we're missing something obvious here. The final one is Rebuke of the Talisman. Prerequisite Pact of the Talisman feature. When the wearer of your talisman is hit by an attacker you can see within 30 feet of you, you can use your action to deal psychic damage to the attacker equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1 damage, and push it up to 10 feet away from the talisman's wearer.
Yeah, so
if you are the talisman's wearer, you just push them away from you. But if they're somewhere else, it moves them around the map maybe in a different way.
Yeah, which is like something that like you can build warlocks to be these like great like area controls, because they have all these invocations that deal with their Eldritch Blast, where they can like pull and push and things like that. And you can do it on multiple targets and things. And so like this only adds even more to that, where it's like if they're like, fine, I won't deal with you, I'll go deal with this guy. Boom. And it's still like happening to them.
Yeah. That's really good. Overall, the Pact of the Talisman, it's not bad.
Yeah,
but
it's not
I feel like
as
it's not
objectively powerful as some of the other options you have available to you. But I don't think it was ever intended to be. I think it is designed to be a support warlock, which isn't really something that we've seen before.
Yeah, that's totally true. I feel like if I wanted it to feel better, I would say just increase the amount of things you can add that D4 to. Mm-hmm. Just essentially give it like you can choose to add a D4 to an attack roll you make or something like that. That makes it actually pretty competitive with some of the other options.
Or like,
but
increase
just skills you aren't already proficient in is just
it's kind of bad. Yeah,
it's like when
but like
do I
would say like adding that D4 to more things, or giving maybe an invocation that allows you to add it to more things, or an invocation that allows you to increase the size of the dice after a certain like level cap or something like that. That would be cool too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you have a prereq like 9th level option for an invocation that bumps it up to a D6 or something. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, overall, what do you think of the changes to Warlock here? You think this is going to change how you play a Warlock in the future?
Like I said, the new subclass is kind of neat, but the other abilities that make the Hexblade even stronger didn't need to be there. Mm-hmm. It's already something that people are like dipping into to make their paladins or their sorcerers better, and this only makes them like objectively better again.
For sure, yeah. I do like that none of these Pact features, or not Pact, invocations, were just you can cast blank spell for free once a day,
which are always the least interesting of the Pact.
Yeah, they're not. It's not as if they're not good. They're just not interesting. Exactly. These are all something. They're all something unique. That's
with the
not
exception
of
like
else.
You can cast Disguise Self infinite number of times.
That's
that will always be like one of the best ones.
Definitely. But yeah, modifying your tome to give you this like connection to people that write names in it, that's very cool.
That's like such a cool use of that object.
And then the bump to the Chain Master, for them to use your spell save DC, that's also very solid. Brings it up to probably Hexblade levels of like combat utility.
Yeah, whereas before it was just like this other caster that got to spy on things for you. Now it's its own beast, literally.
For sure. All right, let's wrap it up there. We only have one left. Stay tuned for the final episode where we discuss the wizard. Well, not the final episode. We'll discuss the wizard. We'll probably have a wrap-up episode for our overall thoughts. But let us know what you thought of the changes to the Warlock down in the comments. Click that like button, subscribe for more content from us. And until next time, keep on adventuring.